Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Ruchakudash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is Constructive Criticism and Slight Correction. Now, I was watching this video yesterday, Hollywood Israelites. These are some men from the ISUPK, and they were going through the breakdown of Daniel chapter 11. And I scrolled through to find exactly where they had started at. And they started roughly around 46 minute, 20 seconds or so around there. I posted the video in the description box. And, you know, for the most part, they were getting down, but I just wanted to make a slight correction on a particular point that they had broke down wrong. So that's why I call it constructive criticism and slight correction. Now, what is constructive criticism? Constructive criticism is a feedback method that offers specific, actionable recommendations. Good constructive feedback facilitates positive outcomes and creates a positive working environment. It also provides a safe space where a person feels secure enough to ask questions, seek help, and share ideas, because the scriptures say in Proverbs 9:8, reprove not a scorner lest he hate thee, rebuke a wise man, and he will love thee. And, you know, this truth is about correction. You know, it's about, you know, rebuke, of course, you know, correction, admonishment, encouragement, so on and so forth. So I just wanted to make a slight correction, because when they broke this down in Daniel 11 and verse 2, they had mentioned the 4 kings, which they got 3 of them right, but 1 of them they got wrong. So I just wanted to kind of just go into that. The younger of the 2, which if you go to the beginning of it, you see the lighter skinned brother, and he pretty much said that the 3 or the 4 kings, or the 3 kings, was Cyrus, Cambyses, and Darius, which he had 2 of them right. Then he said the 4th one was Xerxes, you know, which he's correct on that. But the first one was not Cambyses. I'm sorry, the first one was not Cyrus. And even when you read the scripture, it explains to you that it's not Cyrus. Because Daniel 11:1 says, also in the first year of Darius the Mede, which Darius the Mede worked for Cyrus the Great. This was the, you know, the top man, or one of the top men, you know, military men of Cyrus, that took down, you know, pretty much it was a takeover, you know, of the Babylonian Empire. And when they took the Babylonian Empire down, Cyrus the Great was already in power. Okay, so Darius the Mede, all he did was take down, under the authority of Cyrus the Great, he took down the Babylonian Empire, which was annexed to the Medo-Persian Empire, right? It says, even I stood to confirm and to strengthen him, and now will I show thee the truth, right? So he's speaking, this is Daniel speaking, behold, there shall stand up yet 3 kings in Persia. So this what's the word I'm looking for? This vision is after the taking over of Babylon. So Cyrus was already in power. So Cyrus cannot be one of these 3 kings, because he's already in power at the time when Daniel is given this, you know, prophecy. So the 3 kings are Cambyses, Cambyses II, Bardia, which they call Pseudo-Smyrna, and Darius. Okay, I believe that was Darius the first. Those were the 3 kings. All right, it says, and the 4th shall be far richer than they all, and that 4th being far richer, that was Xerxes. All right, I believe that was Xerxes the first, if I'm not mistaken. The scriptures call him Ahasuerus, you know, so it's the same thing as Xerxes the first. You know, so like I said, you know, they were getting down, you know, and I just wanted to make that slight correction. And I do have here Bardia or Smyrtus. Some call him Pseudo-Smyrtus because he pretty much wiggled his way in there. Also named as Tanyo by Cetius was the son of Cyrus the Great and the younger brother of Cambyses II. You see, both Persian kings. There are sharply divided views on his life. Bardia either ruled the Achaemenid Empire, which I believe it was either Cyrus's father or through the lineage of Cyrus, where you had one of the kings named Achaemenes, which was where you get the term Achaemenid Empire, because the rulers, the kings in Persia at this time, all went back to the king Achaemenes. All right. For a few months, it says, Bardia either ruled the Achaemenid Empire for a few months in 522 BC, or was impersonated by a Magnus called Gormata, whose name is given by Ctesias as Sphenidates. All right, until he was toppled by Darius the Great. So this individual, Bardia or Pseudo-Smerdis, he was the one that was in there for just a few months. So he was one of the three kings, because remember, Cyrus was already in power when Daniel received this vision, and he gave the vision to Darius, right? And then he's speaking to him. He said, there shall stand up three kings in Persia. So you had Cyrus in power already. So the three kings after that, could only be Cambyses II, Bardia, which is Pseudo-Smyrna, and then Darius, because the fourth king, far richer, was Xerxes. So there was those three kings there. So it wasn't Cyrus the Great. All right, and you could read more of this. I didn't put this in the description box, but what you can do is type in Bardia, as you see it spelled there, Bardiya, and you'll find it, because I tried to find it other ways and it was kind of hard. So because I had spelled it wrong, but what I did was I put Bardia, then I put Persian king, and finally I found it. So if you type that in, or matter of fact, I'll just do it like this. I'll put it in the comments section, in case any brother wants to look into it. So when we go back, right, it says, and now I will show unto thee the truth. Behold, there shall stand up yet three kings in Persia, which we gave you the three, and the fourth shall be far richer than they are, which is Xerxes the first. And by his strength, through his riches, he shall stir up all against the realm of Grecia. And he's the one that really started, fighting against the Greek Empire. You had the Spartans and so on and so forth. They pretty much were going to war. And eventually, when Alexander came into power, the Persian Empire was destroyed and absorbed into the Greek Empire. So it says, and a mighty king shall stand up. This mighty king is Alexander the Great, which they call him the Great. We call him the Creep. And you have some individuals out there that use our terminology, but that's all right. That shall rule with great dominion. Right, he had a great dominion because he conquered all of those. He conquered the Middle Persian Empire, and he also conquered all of those nations that were in that region at the time, the so-called known world. And he did have a great dominion, and so great that he was one of the beasts that was mentioned in Daniel the 7th chapter. The Greek Empire, which with him being the head of that. And do according to his will, right? Because there was no one that could stand in his way. Why? Because the Lord had opened the door of prophecy for him to conquer the known world at the time. And when he shall stand up, his kingdom shall be broken, right? So when he took over the kingdom, his kingdom was broken. Why? Because all of the different kingdoms outside of the Roman Empire were all ruled by kings and their successors, the kings, their sons, so on and so forth. But in the case of Alexander, his son was murdered, his wife was murdered, and he actually parted his kingdom among the four of his generals. Now he had more generals. Some of them they had lands also, And there was a war back and forth between them. That's why it says, and shall be divided toward the four winds of heaven, right? Because his kingdom was no longer one. It was divided into four parts, four major parts. Now, the four kings, the four of Alexander's generals was Ptolemy, Seleucus, Lysimachus, and Cassander. But you also had Antigonus up in there. He was one of the main generals that was in there. But what happened was eventually Lysimachus, and Cassander, and I believe it was Ptolemy, warred against him and eventually took him down, and they split the kingdom between them. Because when we read here, Wars of the Diadochi, which is the name of the Greek rulers, it says the Wars of the Diadochi, or Wars of Alexander's successors, were a series of conflicts that were fought between the generals of Alexander the Great, or the creep, known as the Diadochi, over who would rule his empire following his death. And they didn't understand that it was already prophesied that it would be broken up into four. The fighting occurred between 322 and 281 BC. You can read the background, you can read, I believe I put this one in the description box if I'm not mistaken. If not, just type in Wars of the Diadochi, and you could pause the video and just get the spelling. Now it gives you all of the different wars, the first war, second war, so on and so forth. We're going to go to the fourth war of the Diadochi, 308 to 301 BC. We come down here, right? It says, here came the decisive invention from Seleucus, who arrived in time to save Lysimachus from disaster and utterly crush Antigonus in the battle of Ipsus. Antigonus was killed in the fight, and Demetrius fled back to Greece to attempt to preserve the remnants of his rule there. Lysimachus and Seleucus divided up Antigonus's Asian territories between them, with Lysimachus receiving Western Asia Minor and Seleucus the rest, except Cilicia and Lycia. It says, which went to Cassander's brother Playstarchus, which I believe he was another one of the generals. But these were the four generals. You had Ptolemy, you had Seleucus, Cassander, and Lysimachus. All right, but you did have Antigonus in there for a certain period of time, but he was eventually defeated, destroyed, and the kingdom was split, and among them. All right, so those are the four major generals, because they're the ones that held it down, for the duration until the Romans came and took them down. Why? Because the Romans were the next rulers that were to come in, pursuant to prophecy. All right. Now, when we go back to Daniel, it says, and shall be, let's start again. And when he shall stand up, his kingdom, that's Daniel 11:4. And when he shall stand up, Alexander, his kingdom shall be broken, which you can go through the history and find out what happened. He died at an early age, and his kingdom was divided. It didn't go to his children or his son, and shall be divided towards the four winds of heaven, because it was broken up into mainly four different parts, and not to his posterity, which means what? His son. Because he did have a son, but his son did not rule. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe his son and his wife were both murdered eventually, but I can't remember because it's been so long since I've gone through that particular history. It says, nor according to his dominion which he ruled, right? Because it wasn't going to be together as one. It was a split kingdom. It says, for his kingdom shall be plucked up, even for others beside those, right? So in other words, his descendants did not have possession of the kingdom anymore. He conquered it, ruled it for a very short time, died, divided it amongst his generals, and his generals were the ones that ruled the kingdom. Right? It says, and the king of the south shall be strong. Now, there's two particular kings here, the king of the south and the king of the north, which we don't really go, we've broken this down before, but we don't really go into the breakdown too tough, out publicly. And the reason why is because you get these ungrateful individuals that get it, and then they say they'll go into, nope, you broke this down wrong, you broke that down wrong, but they never break it down themselves. So I'm like right now I'm sort of like in two minds. I was just going to break the 5th verse down, but, I'm like little hesitant because, the the unworthy, but you get the idea that we got the 3 kings and the 4th of the Persians, got that going. We got the mighty king, which was Alexander. His kingdom was great. It was divided into his 4 generals, and they the ones that took over, and they were the successors. And out of those 4 generals, there were 2 major generals that became the ruling force, for this particular prophecy, and you know what? I just read the 5th verse, break the 5th verse down, and then close it out. Daniel 11:5. And the king of the south shall be strong. Now, south was what? That was Egypt, the Egyptian empire, which was Ptolemy the first Soter. All right, he was the first king or established pharaoh, Edomite pharaoh in Egypt. So, and the king of the south shall be strong, because he had that region, and he had a great army. And one of his princes, who was his prince, or one of his princes? That was Seleucus the first, Nicator, who eventually would get Syria, what they call Holy Syria, so on and so forth. And he shall be strong above him, meaning Seleucus the first would be strong above him. Why? Because he would pretty much break off and have his own dominion. He wouldn't, he helped Ptolemy, but then eventually he had his own. That's why you had the Ptolemaic Empire and the Seleucid Empire, and have dominion. His dominion shall be a great dominion. Yeah. And there was wars between these 2 families, throughout the duration of the empire. So pretty much, I just wanted to just do a little slight correction. Now them brothers could get mad if they want, because, every time you correct individuals, they get upset. And this is not a hate thing. It's not a, trying to stir up or start anything. Like I said, it was just constructive criticism and a slight correction. So hopefully, if they happen to see it, hopefully they'll take the correction and, just add it to the arsenal. So with that, I pray that you brothers, I haven't watched any more of it, so I don't know what else they said. But like I said, they were going through a history. They was getting down. So I'm pretty sure they pretty much got it. So if the Spirit allows and hits me, I may go through it some more. And if I see anything that, that's amiss, so to speak, I'll speak on it, Lord's will. So with that, I pray that you brothers and few sisters have been edified. To the next time I say shalom.